The Secret Race. The Shadowed Culture of Elite Cycling by Hannah McFarland. First, an overview of Foucault's theories that will be utilised within this essay. Power. Foucault found that power is not centralised and therefore cannot be afforded to a particular person. Knowledge. Foucault stressed that knowledge and power cannot be seen as separate entities, they are conjoined products of the same social processes. Discourse. Foucault stated that discourse consists of statements which may be related to each other to form discursive formations. Discursive formations are sets of rules about what can be said and what can be viewed as acceptable behaviour in a particular social space. Surveillance. Foucault used the metaphor of the panopticon prison for the surveillance in society. Foucault spoke of a central guard tower from which the prisoners may or may not have been watched. The awareness of potential unseen surveillance forces those subject to discipline themselves. They become their own guard. This is Tyler, our cyclist. He is reading the newspaper, which is telling him to take up cycling because it is good for our health. Tyler's been told over and over again that health is important. This has become the dominant discourse of society. Tyler conforms, and with the knowledge that his health will improve, he takes up cycling. Tyler is an avid user of social media. He is scrolling through Twitter and notices a tweet about doping. If that athlete has been banned for taking illegal drugs, then it must be the wrong thing to do. Tyler is conforming to the dominant discourse within society that taking illegal drugs in sport is wrong. If the discourse community holds a given statement to be true, the acceptance of the statement gives it a certain power and standing within that social space. The knowledge that doping is wrong is strengthened by Lance Armstrong denying his use of illegal drugs, as such reinforcing the dominant discourse of rules or society. Armstrong is someone to be admired and trusted. Tyler decides that with his knowledge he is going to conform to the dominant discourse and say no to doping. He will be a clean cyclist. Tyler Hamilton has calculated that his journey from clean cyclist to doping took just 1,000 days. Year 1, a hopeful young pup, excited to be in the peloton. Year 2, the realisation dawns. Year 3, the fork in the road appears, to dope or to quit. As Tyler enters the cycling world, he is influenced by those around him. Foucault talks of power being in a certain concentrated distribution of bodies and gazes. He starts to collect knowledge about what is accepted and expected of him. What are the rules of this particular discourse? He learns what a sports star is. He learns that to be seen as a true athlete, he must strive for perfection and therefore work hard. He also learns that the tour he dreams of cycling in calls for superhuman strength. So far, Tyler knows that there are certain rules to which he must abide to within the social setting of elite cycling. He knows that the dominant public discourse is that doping is wrong, that the tour is very hard and requires perfection. And to achieve this perfection fairly, he must push his body to the limits. But that is fine, because everyone else is doing the same thing, including Armstrong, and he's pretty good. Tyler started to hear rumours that some cyclists were using illegal substances to achieve this perfection. With this knowledge and trusting the dominant discourse that working hard pays off, Tyler worked even harder. He knew that those that cheated were caught and punished, so riding clean would end up with him winning. But there was a problem. When the peloton emerged on tough climbs through the mountains, Tyler found himself at the back. But this couldn't be right. He had followed all the rules of the social space. He'd worked hard and didn't dope. He should prevail, but he wasn't. The disparity between the dominant and public discourse and cycling's discourse was starting to become apparent. Foucault described power as the uninterrupted, constant coercion, supervising the process of the activity according to a code that allows for meticulous control of the body. Riders who were doping and riding past him with little effort, the rules of the social space were starting to change. According to Foucault's notion of surveillance, the subject will be induced into a state of permanent and conscious visibility, where each person acts as their own overseer, influenced by a normalizing gaze. In Tyler's case, he was giving everything he had, but he couldn't keep up. Self-surveying against the other athletes, to whom it appeared easy, the discourse was different. Something was happening. The competition was just too tough riding clean. Tyler wasn't winning, and he needed to win. The knowledge Tyler was receiving from the peloton was that of a rule change. You can't compete clean. Drugs are the only way to win. The discourse of elite cycling was becoming clear. Cycling is doping. This knowledge, and therefore the elite cycling discourse, was reinforced by those in a position of power over Tyler. He had dreamed of competing in the Tour de France, but the only way this would now be possible was to become more professional. And therefore dope. Tyler had reached his fork in the road. To dope or to quit. He had lived through 1,000 days of being cheated out of his livelihood, with no signs that anything would improve. He'd lived with 1,000 days of signals that doping is accepted and normal within this discourse. He also feared that if he didn't conform and ride faster, he would lose his job. He was at the brink of success. The team doctor believed in him. He can win if he doped. Either he joined the Brotherhood and conformed to the discourse, or he quit and went home.